In this video, we're going to automatically make images with our Airtable data using the Formstack Airtable app. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Kyle, the creator of No Code Collab, a site with tips, tricks, and tutorials for your next no-code project. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to check out our website where we have code snippets and other resources to help you during your build. Okay, so we're going to make images from our Airtable data using the Formstack Documents Airtable app. This was something that I saw Aron from Automate All the Things do, except he used the Page Designer app. The difference here is that with Formstack Documents, we can actually introduce some logic. So we can have different layouts, we can have different backgrounds, we can do a lot of different things using the power of Formstack Documents. The Page Designer app does have some other benefits, so be sure to check out his videos on the Page Designer apps. I'll try to link those in the description. But the Formstack Documents allows us, like I said, to bring in logic so that we can start to build some more complex documents.
Before we dive in, I want to give you a little preview of the end state so you know what we're trying to build. So in Airtable, you will have a base where you can add a image title. So my great image title. You'll be able to choose a layout 1 or layout 2. Let's go with layout 2. Let's make it have a blue background. So there's kind of two triggers there, two variables there, and then we'll be able to create a video thumbnail. And Formstack Documents will automatically take what we've put in there. It'll use some logic to then drive the layout, the color. It'll insert the title, and you'll get a image preview created for you automatically. And that image will actually be saved right in the image field. Now, if you wanted to, say, change that and you wanted to make one that was actually layout 1 and it was green, you could do that as well. And with just a couple clicks, you're going to be able to create a new image thumbnail or new image based on your new variables. So here is layout 1 that is green. So this is what we're trying to build, and let's get into it now.
Okay, so when it comes to creating documents with Formstack Documents, the place that I always like to start is either Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Now, before you run away because I just said Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, know that you can start in any program. You can start in the Google versions of those, the Mac versions of those. You just need to get to the right file type so that when you upload your file, your template file into Formstack Documents, it needs to either be a docx, a pptx, or an xlsx. So you need one of those three files, but you can start wherever you want. That's at least where I like to start. Now, what we're going to create here is layout 1. So you'll see I've got two versions of the image that we're going to create for the No Code Collab YouTube thumbnails. So we've got layout 1 and we've got layout 2 where I'm kind of slightly bigger on the side. The title is on top and the logo's on bottom. Here, the logo's on top and the title is on the bottom. Really what's going on though is I have a title and I've got an image, right? And then over here on layout 2, I have an image and a title. Okay, so that's really what we've got going on. We've got layout 1 or layout 2, and then I actually have different colors as well. So do I want a green background, red background, or blue background in both layout 1 or layout 2? And then I have the title. So those are the things that are going on. I'll just quickly show you the different color layouts. So I've got the blue layout in one, green layout, and red. Blue, green, and red. And then in layout 2, I also have blue, green, and red. Okay, so I've got which layout do I want, and then which color do I want in that layout, and then I have a title. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my Airtable. So now in Airtable, what I've done is I've created a really simple base. I've just got a title, a layout, color, And that's really it. So this is my title is a free text. So this is my video title. I've got a layout. And like I said, I'm either choosing layout 1 or layout 2. This is a single select field. And then I've got a color. Which color do I want? Blue, green, or red? So I've got blue. So really simple base. The only other thing you need to do is you need to add the Formstack app to Airtable. Of course, you will need to have a paid Airtable account. You will also need to have a Formstack Documents subscription as well. But once you do that, you just click add an app. You can find Formstack and you can add the Formstack documents. Once you do that, it's going to ask you for an API key. So you just jump over to Formstack Documents. If you click API access, you go to a page. You create a new API, copy, paste, very simple. So that is all you need to do in Airtable. Okay. We've got title, layout, color. What we're doing is because we have two different layouts, what I want to do is I want to create a data route. Because what I need to do is I need to say, do I want to create document 1 or do I want to create document 2? And that requires a data route. So in order to create a data route in Formstack Documents, what you do is you first create both documents. So I create layout 1 and layout 2. And then I create a data route. And that data route then allows me to say, when something is true, choose layout 1. When something else is true, choose layout 2. So the idea here in Formstack Documents is I create both layouts and then I create a data route. And it's actually the data route which is going to choose which layout to build. And we're actually going to, in Airtable, hook up to our data route. So that's the overview of how we're setting up Formstack Documents. The only other thing that's worth noting here is I have created those background images that have the different colors. So I have layout 1, I have 3 colors for layout 1, and then I have 3 colors for layout 2. What I've done is I've exported those. I have those as a file. Now I'm hosting those. What I've decided to do is I'm hosting those on Webflow. I've loaded them up into my media, my assets, and I've dragged them all in. So you can now see layout 1 and layout 1 and layout 2. The reason that I'm doing this is because Formstack Documents, when it's adding the background for the document, it needs to be able to pull a file that's hosted on the web. So you don't actually store your images in Formstack. You just pull that from a public URL. So in this case, what we're going to do is for layout 2, we're going to copy this address. And for layout 2 red, for layout 2 blue, we're going to copy this link address. So that's another thing that we're going to do. So we've got kind of 3 tools that are going on here. But as you can see, I have these blank backgrounds. Okay, so now let's jump back over. We've got our Airtable setup. Very simple. We've got all of our images hosted in Webflow. And now let's create our documents in PowerPoint. So if I jump back over here, this is what I want to create. Now, what I'm actually going to do though, is instead of adding this image, what I do is I am going to have a text box, and inside of that text box, I'm going to put some code or some tags and things and some logic that Formstack Documents will understand. And that's where this first title page is. Let's jump over here. It'll make more sense. It's a little cleaner. So on layout 1, what I'm doing is I have this big text box that's filling the back of the screen, and it's filling the whole screen. And then because I want my title to be white, I've added a dark I've added a dark box behind here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the title. So that's why this looks dark. So what I've done is I've created a text box. And inside that text box, what I'm basically saying is if the color that I choose in Airtable is red, then insert the image that I'm going to call layout 1 red. Otherwise, if the color is blue, else if the color equals blue, then I want the layout 1 blue background image to be inserted. And these numbers here are my dimensions. So I want it to be 1280 pixels wide. And by adding a 0, the height is going to automatically, it'll just fill to the height of the image. It'll keep the aspect ratio. Then I've got else if the color equals green, then add in my layout green image. So I've got 3 logical operators that are going on here where I'm just saying if the color's red, add the red image for layout 1. If the color's blue, add the blue image for layout 1. Pretty simple stuff here. The reason that I have the title where it is because what I've done is I just copied this from that screen and I moved it right over, and now it's in the right place. So I basically designed it out here on this screen and then I copied it over. Also, another thing, if you're not familiar with Formstack, you always start all of your little tags or your variables. You start those with the curly bracket, $, and then you close it off with the curly bracket. So anytime you see anything like this, it's not going to actually get rendered in the final output. It's using that as code. It's reading through that. So I've got layout 1. Now I've got layout 2. Now, because this is higher up on the page, when I copy paste, it actually overlaps all my stuff. So that's why it looks a little jumbled. But the idea here is the same. I'll just move this quickly. If color 1 equals red, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add layout 2 red image. If it's blue, layout 2 blue. Now I have made up these variable names, so you can name them whatever you want. For me, that just made the most sense. The tag names or the variables for color, title, eventually layout when we get it into Formstack Documents, they need to match exactly. They need to be matched exactly to the Airtable column headers. So if we jump over to Airtable, you'll see that it's color, layout, title. It's case sensitive. Be sure that everything is exactly the same. And here I've got title, capital T. Here's my color, capital C. So now we've got our PowerPoints ready. We've got both layouts ready. Now let's jump over to Formstack Documents. So when you start this process, you're going to create a new document. You're going to name it whatever you want. Then you're going to say that you have a template, a document that you'd like to use. So you're going to choose your layout file, your PowerPoint. Then you're going to deliver using different third party because you don't need it emailed to you. And you're going to integrate with an external service. So those are the things you need to do to create your document. Now, I've already created them, so we're just going to delete this quick. But if we go into our 2 different documents, you'll see that we have our file. So when we edit in browser, we can see that we've got our file. Here's slide number 1 was that darker slide. And then slide number 2 had the actual preview. Because we're going to save this out as an image, they're only going to render the first slide, so we don't really care about the second slide. Then, in my settings, I'm going to save it as a JPEG. My DPI is going to be 72 because that's all that the internet can handle. That's what's rendered. Then I've got a layout. I'm changing the file name of the image to include the title. I'm going to save those settings. The other thing that I always do is I always use my field map And you'll see that that's going to be important. So you have to go to Advanced Settings, Field Map, Save Settings. And then you're going to get a tab along the top that is your field map. Once you have your field map, you can click on it and you will see that we have all of the variables that were in our PowerPoint. So we had color, title, and then the 3 layouts. Now, what we're doing is, as I mentioned before, you can see here, I've got a file. I've got a URL. And if I copy that URL and visit it, you'll see that this is my red layout. This is my layout 1 red. I got this URL from Webflow. So I got it right from here, from my copy link address, and then I pasted that in. I went to the blue layout file. I went back to Webflow. I chose the blue layout file. I copied that link, and then I went back and I pasted it in. So I basically said, and I'm telling Formstack that the variable layout 1 red is this URL. The variable layout 1 blue is this URL, and so on and so forth. So those are the 3 that now I'm taking the files that I'm storing online and I'm putting them right in Formstack Documents. So now I have created my first document. The next thing I do is I create my second document. You can do this by just copying layout 1, creating your second layout. You'll want to update the file. So then you'll have to upload a new file. You upload layout 2. Then you go into your settings. You're going to update the name. You're going to say JPEG. You're going to update all the stuff. You're going to then go into your field map and you're going to update the links. Update the links to your second layout. So this is layout 2. And as you can see, I've got layout 2 red, layout 2 blue, layout 2 green. So now what I've done is I've updated those 3 images. So now what I'm saying is, now I've got my 2 documents. They're all ready to go. If you want to test, you can test and you can put in a color and you can put in a title. Let's just do it right now. And you'll see that once you test, it's going to take the colors I put in red as a color. And when I look at this, I pull it over, you can see that I've got the red background. This is the title. This is the title. Now, if I update this to green, because remember I have that logical operator in there. If I update that to green, I should get a green background where it says this is the title. And there we are. I have a green background where that's the title. So we know it's working. Cool. So now we've got our 2 documents. Now we're going to create a data route. You go into data route, you say new data route, you name it, test, and now you have the option to add all these rules, right? Now I'm going to come back here and just delete that. And we're going to go to our video thumbnail and we've got our rules. And what I've done is I've set up 2 rules. And what I'm saying is rule number 1 is we're going to send this to layout 1. We're going to send the data to document 1. And I'm going to trigger this rule if the layout, and you remember this over here, if layout equals 1. Because that's one of my options, if you can see that here. That's one of my options. And then I'm going to add a rule. You click add rule, and I'm going to send the data to document 2 if the layout equals 2. Pretty straightforward. If you wanted to add another condition, if you had more variables in there, more data in your Airtable, you can add more conditions. You can add, you could have 10 layouts, right? And then you would just add another rule that would send to layout 3. And then you would have a trigger if the layout equals 3. So you've got a lot of options here. So now we're good on the data route. Let's go back to Airtable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open my app. Formstack Documents shows up. I'm going to select the row And I'm going to call this one, let's call this Automated Images with Airtable and Formstack. So I've got my title, I chose my layout, I've got my color. Now what I'm going to do is I've got that. And what I'm actually going to do is, see how Formstack Documents, the Airtable app is showing me all of the stuff that I have in my Formstack Documents app. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the video thumbnail, because if we come back here, remember we named our data route video thumbnail. So I'm going to come back to video thumbnail. I'm going to choose upload the document to an attachment field, and it's going to be called image. So the created document is going to go right into the image field. And I'm curious, I want to open the document after it's created. So here we go. I should get layout 1 with blue, and it should say automated images with Airtable and Formstack. Here we are. Automated images with Airtable and Formstack. It is a layout 1 blue. If I come back and I try updating it, let's try layout 2 and let's do green. Select my data route, and here we go. And notice how the image ended up right in my image field. So I've got that saved. Didn't have to do anything. There we go. Layout 2 green, automated images with Airtable and Formstack. So now I've created a pretty simple little thumbnail creator that has multiple layouts, multiple colors. The one thing I will say is these look a little pixelated. So I'm going to come back here to my layouts, my documents. I'm going to manage the file, and I'm going to see if I can actually increase this, and let's see if that does anything. You wouldn't think it would, but then again, you also would think that it would. All right. So let's see. Now I've updated my documents. I come back here. Let's do a red one. Let's do layout 2 in red. And video thumbnail. Now, the cool thing that you can do is you can insert images. So if you wanted to drag an image and then include that in the final image, you can do that as well. There's some documentation there. That looks a little better, especially if I zoom out. That looks a lot less pixelated than that guy. Yeah, so maybe keep your images at 300. So yeah, and now the beautiful thing is inside of my images, I can open my record and I can see all of my different thumbnails, all of my different images. So this is really just scratching the surface with what's possible with Formstack Documents. Because we can use logic, we can really do some cool things, hiding and showing pages and sections and images, and we can use logical operators and comparisons to drive different parts of our document and different content. So it's really a powerful tool. Definitely check it out if you have a document that you want automated that is complex, because that's their bread and butter. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you think it's cool. Also, be sure to check out Automate All the Things and Aron's channel. He's got a lot of great things on Airtable. So hope to see you at the next tutorial.